Hello, my name is Carl Larsen. I'm the Executive Secretary of DFRAS, and I'm here to present to you an IFAD-initiated project called the Last Mile Program. And this video is an introduction to the program. Hopefully it will help you to understand what the program is about and how it will develop. Let's get started. So the Last Mile Program, its aim is to deliver extension service to the last mile, improving smallholders' access to innovation and pluralistic demand-driven extension services. So you can say that the program is a framework that has been developed within which several projects can be implemented. So the idea is to attract a number of donors to the Last Mile program, and that these donors can have their special requirements. It can be regional priorities. Some donors would like to work only in Latin America. Other donors may be only in Africa. It can be specific country priorities. It can be commodity priorities. Some donors want to work in maize or rice or poultry or dairy, and it can be target group priorities like smallholder farmers or women or youth. And the framework that the Last Mile program has designed can cater for all these different priorities of different donors. But first, let's start with looking at how the DFRAS network is designed. So on the local level, we have the farmers, and on the district level, we often have some kind of rural advisors who gives advice to farmers. And at national level, the rural advisors can be organized in what we call country fora, where they have a platform to talk together. These platforms are almost non-existing or very loose in some countries and quite well established in other countries. So the different country forums make up a region, and we are working with the Last Mile project in 3 regions. In Africa, where AFAS is leading the work as a regional network. In Latin America, where Relacer is leading the work as the regional network, and in Asia, where Apiras is leading the regional network work. And then at global level, we have the DFRAS Secretariat as the apex, based in Switzerland. So in the Last Mile program, we are using this DFRAS network infrastructure for implementation. And most, as you can see here with the orange pyramid, most of the work will be happening at country level within the country fora, supported by the regional networks, and the regional networks are supported by the global apex, the DFRAS Secretariat. And so far there are 2 donors: the core funder for DFRAS, which is SDC, the Swiss government, and for the LMP project, IFAD has come in as the first donor with a $3 million grant. And so the IFAD grant will cover all 3 regions, and the European Union grant at 5 to 6 million would basically go to Africa. And this combined this joint funding is what we call phase 1 of the Last Mile program. And then we expect other donors to come in later on next year. The most likely one to come in early is Hafer International, and we are expecting them to come in with a magnitude of $2 million. IFAD is saying that they might come in with a second grant in the magnitude of $3.5 million. And there's also talks about the European Union coming in with additional money. That will constitute probably the phase 2 of the last mile program, and how many more phases there will be, time will show. So let's go into what is the problems that the last mile program is addressing. It is a very generic, common problem within rural advisory service or extension. And that is that in the past situation in most of the world was that it was a government-run extension service, and they had almost monopoly status in most countries. They provided information to extension officers who was told by the ministry or the service what to tell the farmers, and they were accountable to the ministry, not accountable to the farmers. They, on their hand, the extension officers, were giving farmers advice, and the farmers was to a large degree passive receivers of information. And I have not drawn any arrows going the other way because the feedback loop was more or less non-existing. So what was the challenge with the old monopolistic government-run extension system? It was very expensive. It was inefficient. It reached only a fraction of the farmers in many countries, and it reached often the farmers with outdated or not adapted information. Then came the structural adjustment programs that said that the public sector in many developing countries had grown too much, and there was a demand to trim the public sector, which had a severe impact in many countries on the public extension service. And today it is still existing in many countries, but they're small and insufficient. And in the vacuum, other actors have come in, like the NGOs or CBOs or faith-based organizations, who provide services to the farmers, and also the private sector is coming in with advisory service to the farmers. But to a large degree, these different stakeholders work in silos, and a lot of the farmers are not reached with any kind of advisory service. So the idea with the Last Mile project is to target countries where they have existing country fora and try to strengthen this country fora so they don't work in silos, but so they work together, so they can reach the farmers, and through that and include farmers in the country fora. So it's going to be a dynamic system that provides services to the farmers, that's what is called the last mile. So to look at the document, the last mile project's objective, they have two specific objectives. It is to mobilize, organize, and build capacity of public-private rural advisory service providers to deliver effective, innovative services linked to all actors in agricultural innovation systems to smallholders farmers. That is one, basically to strengthen the country fora. And the second one is to generate and contribute knowledge needed to promote scaling up of climate resilient good practices to smallholder farmers, and for promoting favorable policies and investments in rural advisory service. So knowledge generation and advocacy is the second one. We are currently in an inception phase, which runs from May until November 2019. And in this phase, we are working on ensuring that the regional networks are ready to go full scale in project implementation. Part of their obligation in this inception phase is to select the 18 countries for phase 1 with functioning country fora, and to develop work plans and budgets for each country, and each of the countries' work plans and budgets will then be collected and made into one regional work plan with a budget, which will be collected at the global apex into one big document. So country selection in phase 1, the philosophy behind the last mile program is working with an 8-step development of country fora, from being a very loose network to being a fully fledged public-private social enterprise with a sustainable economy, and the idea is that within a number of years, the different countries, the country foras in different countries at different level would move towards a more mature position. And in phase 1, we are basically targeting the quite well matured country fora, and in component 1, it's building the strengths of the country fora. So the more evolved they are, the least focus will be on component 1, which is strengthening country fora, and the more focus there will be on component 2, which is knowledge management and advocacy. So let's look at the timeline for developing the work plan and the budget for phase 1 of the last mile program. And this has already been initiated in May 2019 with a global workshop in Rome, and in June, July, they are running regional workshops in the 3 regions. And after the regional workshops, the selected countries will have to develop national work plans, and there will be a second regional workshop where the regions will help the different countries in developing their national work plans. And after that, there will be after all the national work plans have been finalized and submitted to the region needs to amalgamate them into a regional work plan, and there will be a global workshop in October to support this process. And then finally, in November, GFRAS will take the 3 regional work plans and make them into one coherent work plan, which will be submitted to IFAD. And after the inception phase comes the implementation phase, starting in the end of 1919 and running to 2025. And that is all about delivering results.
Let's first look at the fund flow within the Last Mile project. The money comes from external donors, which right now is mainly IFAD, some core funding support from the Swiss government, and hopefully European Union would come in soon. This money goes to GFRAS, and from GFRAS it goes to the 3 regional networks, which is part of the Last Mile project, which is AFAS, APIRAS, and RELACER. And from there, it goes to the country fora in the different regions. And here I have put 2 country fora for each region, but that will vary according to external funding. There are 2 types of funding at country level, where the country fora is the anchor of everything that is done within the Last Mile project. There are the organizational development grants, which are, as it says, grants, and they are predominantly for component 1, building capacity of the RAS providers through strengthening public-private partnerships. And then the other component is a competitive fund called the Challenge Fund Allocation, and that is 50% for component 1, that means capacity building through public-private partnerships, and 50% for component 2, which is knowledge generation, management and communication. But let's first look at the organization development grants. So we'll go step by step. These grants are non-competitive. They are based on a clear plan that the country forum develops, and the aim is to strengthen country forum's function and performance as public-private partnership platforms. So an annual work plan needs to be developed by the country fora, and it needs to be sent to the regional network which approves it, and from where the 3 regional networks sends their work plans together with the country fora work plans to GFRAS, that collect everything into one organizational annual work plan for the LMP project, which is sent to the donor. That means in this case IFAD, for final approval. So this is a little bit of a cumbersome process, because the work plans have to work up from country level to regional level to global level before they can be amalgamated and approved by the donor. So what type of activities can be funded under the organizational development grant? Many things can be funded. Here are some examples. It could be something on governance of the country fora, building managerial capacity, building capacity within advocacy and policy engagement, or doing active policy engagement. It could be training and skills development, for example, in leadership, in fund management, or in soft communication skills, arbitration skills, negotiation skills, this kind of things. Or it can be in actual institutional capacity building, which are the other 2 are parts of, but more maybe on a strategic level. So that was one of them. Then look at the other one, the challenge funds allocation, which again is a combination of component 1 and component 2 activities. So description of the challenge funds allocation. Members of the country fora, that means rural advisory service actors, can write proposals on how to improve and innovate within the rural advisory service within their specific country. This can be done in the form of public-private partnerships, and the country forum will, in consultation with the regional networks, select the best proposals to be funded. So this is all about competitive proposal writing. Very important, competitive proposal writing. So what will be in your annual work plan will not be the competitive proposals, but the process of how to write, how to design a process to make calls for competitive proposals, screening the proposal and selecting the proposals, and running the proposals by the country forum, or running the innovation grants by the country forum. So in your annual work plan, you need to set up how to run this system with competitive proposals. And to the degree possible, whenever people are writing competitive proposals, it is important that they try to link and leverage to existing donor-funded activities within extension and rural advisory service within their country. This could be some of the donors, it can be many more. Of course, if IFAD is involved, that is a key donor to look at, and the same with European Union, but basically just to be sure that it is not made duplicating ongoing activities, but linking to and creating synergies with other activities going on within the same domain in the country. So the process for competitive proposal writing, so it's happening at country forum level. what you need to do, as I said before, in your annual work plan is, especially number 1, is to describe the process. So it's about making calls for proposals. It's about getting in a number of proposals and then in a transparent and fair selection process at country level, find the best ones and get them endorsed by the regional networks. So we have an third party looking at the selection process, the transparency, the equity in it, to be sure that everything is running fair and free. And then for the best ones, they will be given an innovation grant, and 50% of those innovation grants have to be within component 1 and 50% have to be within component 2. So who can write these proposals? Country forum member, of course. It can be individuals, preferably it should be groups, but it can in principle be individuals. It can be groups of people. It can also be institutions, can be private sector who takes the initiative. It can be the public sector who takes the initiative, and it can be CBOs and NBOs who takes the initiative. So all of these are eligible as long as they are working a part of the country forum, of course, and working within the domain of extension and rural advisory service. So some proposal examples. It could be that these actors decide to establish a private-public partnership. It could be within the dairy sector, for example, just an example, or it could be within the seed industry in the country that they want to do some public-private partnerships. It could also be an individual member who have been working a lot with farmer field schools, who feel that there's something I want the experience, that person wants the experience they have gained to be shared with a larger group of people, and make a proposal to make, for example, 5 YouTube videos on how to do farmer field schools for knowledge dissemination and knowledge generation. So these are just some examples to give you some inspiration. So who can apply for innovation grants, or what types of applications? They can be very, very many. This is again examples. It can be geographically based. So it can be a region in the country that says we want to do something on this or that. It can be even a district level or a smaller level. It can be community-based. Commodity-based. It can be, for example, in poultry or in rice, just to take some other examples. It can be sector-based, so the seed industry or the feed industry is coming together and making a competitive proposal for innovation grants. Or it can be method-based, methodology-based, so it can be something about digital extension or farmer field schools or the new extension learning kit. Again, this is just examples. And this should, of course, be linked to ongoing national and donor activities in the country to create synergies and leverage on what is already going on and the small seed money that is within the innovation grant. So the idea is that the country fora would have a number of innovation grants running, probably from the second year, as it will take some time to set up the procedures and to make the first call for proposals, have people write proposals to have them assessed and rewarded. That will probably take the first year of implementation. So expect innovation grants to be up and operational by 2021. And the idea is to create efficient and effective service delivery and communication and knowledge management to the farming community. So this is really much about the last mile, bringing services to the last mile. So very important that this is directly linked to service provision at farm level. So while component 1 was about capacity building, component 2 is about knowledge generation, knowledge management, and communication of knowledge. So the aim here is to develop knowledge projects based on lessons learned and good practices, and of course also to promote South-South cooperation for scaling up. So here it's about the whole agriculture knowledge information system and getting information aggregated and communicated within this knowledge system for lessons learned and knowledge generation. So again, this is what's happening at country level, and the idea with the Last Mile project, hence the South-South collaboration, is that this cascade at regional level and again at global level, and that all of this knowledge and ideas and information is collected at a global level and redistributed out through regional networks to national level. So what GFRAS is doing is becoming truly global. So the next steps in the immediate future is the second regional workshops to run in the 3 regions, and the focus at country level is to finalize the work plan using a template which will be provided together with this video of the project. And it's very important that you finalize this works on them and finalize them, and the regional network would provide advice and support in this process, of course, to the countries and the country fora, and there will be technical backstopping from GFRAS Secretariat at global level. Other than that, we just wish you good luck with your next regional workshops and hope that you understand the template and can develop some interesting work plans for the coming year. Good luck, everybody, and thank you.